All right, hey, I want to tell you just a little bit about what's kind of happening in the Grow by One world. So, August typically has been extremely busy in my world with getting teachers ready to go back to school. Typically, in a normal year, I would be spending just about every day of the month on the road. It has become such a pattern in our lives that my three kids will say things like, "Oh no, it's August. That's right. We'll see you later, Mom." Do you ever get overwhelmed or busy and you just need to step back and maybe readjust? So I realized that this year, even though my August is going to look very different, because of COVID, there's not the traveling that's going to take place. I do have one trip that's going to be traveling, but the rest of it is all pretty much going to be sitting in this chair, attending some trainings of my own, but also giving back to a lot of teachers to get them ready. And I'm really excited about that. And it's really busy. It's just a busy time of year. And so as I was going through this and really kind of looking at my whole month, several weeks ago when I was planning my August, I had to take a step back and go, wait a minute. Something's got to give, right? I needed to readjust. I needed to focus big time, right? So as I was going through that, I thought, I'm going to keep track of my thinking during this time because I really want to share this with you. As you know, we talk a lot about thinking and mindset and making decisions, solving problems, that kind of thing. And I think it's valuable for you to know what's happening in my world and how I deal with those kinds of issues and challenges, and then be able to maybe take that and apply it to your own life. So, couple things that came out of this. Number one, you can only do so much, right? You only have a certain amount of time during the day. So at some point you've got to prioritize. And I realized for myself, I need to prioritize several things. And so I went through and I found 5 areas that I needed to prioritize. And I'm going to tell you about those 5 areas in just a minute. But then the next thing that came after that was realizing, I can't put anything else into my August. And at first I was a little concerned, like, I don't have any wiggle room, right? And then the next thought was, no, this is good because you're in a doing season. And as we've talked before, the law of rhythm, you have your natural ups and downs, right? Sometimes there is a doing season, sometimes there's a thinking season, sometimes there's a resting season. And August, FYI, is a doing season at Grow by One. So what are my 5 priorities? Well, the first one is family. So August 10th through the 12th, my husband and I celebrate our 18th wedding anniversary. We actually have 2 dates. I wasn't going to tell this story, but I think I will because I think it's funny. So when we first got married, the week before we were to get married, Josh had one job, and he tells this story too, so I'm not throwing him under the bus or anything. So he had one job. His one job was to go and get the marriage license, okay? So the Thursday before we're supposed to get married on Saturday morning, I come into town with all my family, and we're doing the preparations, and we're taking the guys to get their tuxes and the girls to do the final fittings and all that kind of stuff, right? And he sheepishly kind of pulls me aside and says, I have something to tell you. And I was like, okay, what? And he said, I don't know what we're going to do, but I went to go get the license today, and there's a 3-day waiting period. I'm like, yeah. And he says, today's Thursday. We can't get it until Monday. And I was like, but we're getting married on Saturday. And so it was this huge thing. We had to get married in secret. Our pastor pretty much said, don't tell anybody we're doing this. I will go ahead and marry you because we have 200 people coming. However, don't tell anybody. Although several months later, he kind of used the example in a sermon, so I think we're ready to tell people about that. So long story short, we got married on August 10th, and we hung around. We didn't go on our honeymoon because on Monday we had to pull aside his father and then the preacher's wife. We said, come on over, you guys were there, be our witnesses. On their lunch breaks, we pulled them to the courthouse, they signed, and so our official wedding anniversary is on the 10th, our legal anniversary is on the 12th. So long story short, we celebrate 2 days every single day. So this is both our 18th and 36th wedding anniversary, if you want to look at it like that. So August, that always comes. And then, honestly, on the 13th is another big day because that's my son's birthday. But this year, guess what? He turned 16. So a big deal, right? So we're going to put together several really special things for him. Definitely have him go and get his driver's license. And so those are priorities, right? That's like, I have to make sure that those days are set aside because the rest of our lives we're going to be talking about that. Okay, so that's priority number one. Number two, priority is to grow. So I am all about learning and growing myself, making myself and my business bigger and better so that I can serve all of you. And August happens to be, I took 5 days, actually last week. If you tried to email me, you got that responder back. I took 5 days off where I went to a retreat center and I was learning all about how to do advanced Psych K balances. Now, I'm going to tell you more about that in the future, but long story short, Psych K boiled down is probably the easiest and most significant and fastest way of changing beliefs. So yes, I'm going to share several things with you, probably here in the next couple months about Psych K, but I went to that retreat center for 5 days. It was amazing. I'm so glad that I did it. And then, there's 3 days actually coming up here in a couple days. I'm going to be doing a virtual training. It's for a tribe membership training. So basically the purpose of this group is to resource us as business owners to try to understand how we can serve our clients in a bigger and better way. 3 days of sitting at my computer and getting some really great ideas and inspiration. I'm excited about that. And at the end of the month here in a few weeks, I get to spend time with my John Maxwell team family. We're having, instead of an in-person event like we do 2 times a year, we're doing one virtually. I'm really excited about that. So that's number 2, growing. Number 3, the third priority. Just because you're in a doing season, when you're a business owner, you don't get to stop kind of putting yourself out there. You still need to have a little bit of exposure because if all you're doing is just harvesting, right? At some point, you're going to look back and the harvest time is going to be done and you're going to go, oh, wait a minute, now what? Right? So you still got to be kind of putting some feelers out there. However, in a doing season, you probably back off a little bit of that, okay? So I'm still going to have some exposure. I am every week one guest speaker, guest lecture, or podcast interview a week. So I wanted to maintain that. We've been getting a lot of requests for that, which I absolutely love, by the way. I love having really great conversations. So if you know of somebody that you listen to or you watch on a regular basis that you think might want to have a conversation with me in that kind of a format, let me know. Obviously, will have to happen after August, but I love to do that, so I wanted to make sure that that was still on my radar. And another reason for doing that is because it gives me energy. And if I get more energy, I'm going to have, everything that I need in my tank to kind of get through that doing season. And priority number 4 is to increase traffic. So, when I'm going and doing these events, many times the events are with crowds of people I've never had the chance to speak to before. So if I'm doing a keynote presentation online and there's, 1,000 people on the Zoom, I want to make sure that I bring some really good stuff. And then I have some stuff to follow up so that, they have tips and tools and strategies that they can use. Not just what I can bring in the moment, but also something that they could take with them. right? So increasing traffic is really just this idea of building my online business, right? Because as we're dealing with COVID and who knows what's going to happen in the future, I got to keep that part of it up. Also, increasing my impact number. That's really big. And August typically is really good for that impact number because I tend to reach hundreds, if not thousands of people during August. I expect the same during this month, but I want to provide for that and be intentional and not just hope that it happens, okay? I do have a couple events that I'm working on, not only as the keynote speaker, but as a host for a virtual summit. And so what it does is it involves several speakers coming together, giving me videos, using my online system to go through and build it out and really help the people have this conference-like atmosphere. So something fun, even from home or, on your own timetable. I'm really excited for that. And I'm really excited for the opportunity to provide them good, high-quality training that's going to help them get ready for school. That's going to be, again, on their timetable. So if it's early morning or late night, they can do that, but that they can return back to it forever. And so that is high on my radar right now. And then priority number 5 is I labeled it serve deeper. So yes, there's some going out and doing, and yes, there's some exposure, and yes, there's, increasing that traffic. But really, I want to serve the people in my tribe, so to speak, a little bit deeper. So reaching out and being intentional, every day, every week, reaching out to people that are already taking my trainings and my classes, and really just say, hey, how are you? What's going on? Is there anything I can do for you? Okay? So that's it. Nothing else. Okay? There's nothing else that's going to fit into August because that right there is a whole month. Now, there's a couple things that I really want to, share with you. Number one, it's okay to kind of get into that overwhelmed space. Just back off a little bit, okay? And take stock and say, what is my priority? And sometimes you get into a season where your priority is really just to boil it down, kind of like what I did, right? And just do that for right now. And then after a time, you can come back and you can add in other things. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. I don't know where you're at. Maybe you've just come off a really busy season. Maybe you're just going into one. Maybe you're smack dab in the middle of yours. But whatever happens, when you get that feeling of just being overwhelmed, take a few deep breaths, step back, and reprioritize. Okay? Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here. And hey, go out and make it a beautiful day. And with that, I release you into the wild. Go forth and prosper. Have an amazing day. We'll catch you next time. All right. Bye-bye.